Hello, Garrett here from Classical Rebellion. I'm here on a Wednesday morning with your daily infusion of high culture. So the first part of that daily infusion is a quote. Our quote today is, "We are all in the gutter, but some of us are looking at the stars." That's Oscar Wilde. Our piece of art today is Beautiful Starry Night by Van Gogh. I think those two go together quite clearly. And then the Sanctus from Thomas Luis de Victoria's Requiem Mass, and I'll talk about that just a little bit later. But first of all, let's talk about the quote from Oscar Wilde. We're all in the gutter. We are all in this life. There's no getting out of the gutter. However, we do have a chance to gaze upwards at the stars. So this is a quote of optimism. It's a quote of hope. It's a quote of perspective. And it clearly ties in perfectly with Beautiful Starry Night. So going a little bit deeper into this idea of we're in the gutter, but we can look to the stars, is exactly what this daily infusion of high culture is designed to be. So we're in the gutter, but we can look to the arts. We can look to those artists and avatars which have come before us and given us their wisdom. We can look to them in the high arts, in high culture. However, high culture has gotten a bad reputation over the decades from, well, I'm going to blame Hollywood, because almost every bad guy in almost every action movie, the bad guy does what? Listens to opera or classical music. What else does the bad guy do? Reads philosophy or literature. The bad guy also has paintings. He's got this wonderful kind of salon with beautiful carved desk and wonderful paintings. This is the bad guy, okay? And then the good guys, well, they don't know anything about any of that, but they keep it real, right? So they do rock and roll, and they take action, and they get things done, and they beat that bad pretender guy, the evil guy who's pretending really to be an actual human being. So what I'm trying to do here is to keep the good guys, keep that average kind of person who is doing the right thing, who's into rock and roll, fine. But let's also accept that if you listen to classical music, if you read literature, if you appreciate and love high culture, high arts, you're not a villain, okay? You can be just as authentic as someone who doesn't do those things. I want to level the playing ground just a little bit. That's what we're here to do at Classical Rebellion. Villains don't necessarily all listen to classical music. Here's an example. In the first Avengers movie, we're going hardcore pop culture here. First Avengers movie, Loki comes in and he gouges this guy's eyeball out, and the music that's playing at that point, there's a string quartet playing, and it's a very classical thing, and this very bad thing is happening at this very high society type party where none of us would feel welcome or included, of course. So that's why they have classical music there. That's what happens at places where they're exclusive and no one's welcome. That's classical music. You see how it's being portrayed here in the movie. And then the good guys show up. What do they show up to? Iron Maiden. And they're full of quippy little lines, and they make fun of Loki. And so it's a clear distinction. Good guys, rock and roll. Bad guys, gouging eyes out at high society parties where no one's welcome. That's classical music. And I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's warranted. And I think it's kind of tired at this point. Every single movie has a bad guy or a villain listening to classical music, reading literature, surrounded by beautiful paintings. And the good guys don't do any of that. I want a good guy who does some of that, maybe. I think I'm a good guy who does some of that. I think there's a lot of people out there who are good people who listen to classical music, who participate in high culture. And so that's what I'm trying to give you here. It's just a daily infusion of high culture. I think this quote from Oscar Wilde plays into that perfectly. Yes, we're all in the gutter, but we don't have to just look at the curb. We can look to the stars just a little bit. And the stars are, in my opinion, in this context, the stars are high culture. And high culture is for everyone. It's not exclusive whatsoever. There is nothing in the world that stops anyone with access to the internet to looking at the greatest pieces of art from any culture from around the world, listen to the best music, and look at and read the greatest literature. Nothing is preventing that. A lot of the greatest literature is for free on Google Books or Apple Books. So let's get in there, let's explore high culture, and let's use that as a tool to master our inner selves, to use it as a tool for self-awareness, to take, not all of us are very good at self-awareness. So we're certainly not all good at it all the time. But what we get in high culture is the distilled wisdom of self-aware people from the centuries, from the ages. It doesn't exist. It doesn't continue to exist if it's not true. If there's not something about a piece of art, a piece of literature, a piece of music that is true. When there's something true about it, it remains. If there's something false about it, it doesn't. There's a whole bunch more quotes I could get into at this point, but you get one per day. So our quote today was Oscar Wilde. We're all on the gutter, but some of us are looking at the stars. The piece of art is Beautiful Starry Night by Van Gogh. And the piece of music is the Sanctus from the Requiem by Thomas Luis de Victoria. And I selected that because I've always looked at requiems as an idea of transitioning from the gutter to the stars. So traditional belief in Christianity would be the soul is arising to heaven. I don't think you need to have that belief in order to participate in this music and to find meaning for it inside your own self. So this sanctus means holy, so something above us, that feeling of being in a redwood forest or looking at the Grand Canyon, or if you've ever been to Yosemite, if you've been stood in front of the Empire State Building, anything like that where you feel small in front of a large space or a large structure, that's what the holy is invoking. And I think that's exactly what this Oscar Wilde quote is talking about. We're all in the gutter. Some of us are looking at the stars. So I'd encourage you today, you can't get out of the gutter. I'm sorry. We're all in here together. But let's look at the stars. Let's look at Van Gogh's Beautiful Starry Night. And let's listen to the Sanctus from Thomas Luis de Victoria's Requiem Mass. Okay, see you tomorrow, Thursday morning, when I'll have another quote for you, another piece of art, and another piece of music.